100 years ago, it was the sixth city. Today, Cleveland is a city shaped by its makers, movers, and shakers. I'm Sara Shookman. Come celebrate Clevelanders doing cool things in the Sixth City Marketing Society.
I'm Charlie Korsmo. I teach corporate law here at Case Western Law School. I'm a proud transplant to Cleveland here. So.
You may not remember his name, but I bet you recognize his baby face. Charlie Korsmo, child actor turned academic turned Clevelander, invited us to his office.
Charlie, thank you so much for having us today.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for having me.
How did you end up a law professor? Is this how you saw yourself as a kid?
Just a long series of mistakes and blind alleys. Not a straight line. I have a very strange resume. I have a feeling part of why we're here is because my resume is so strange. But I dabbled in the performing arts as a child.
Jack, give me your hand. We're going home.
I am home.
It's a professional entertainer, and sort of gave that up for the most part when I was going into high school. And I went to college, maybe didn't think it through all that much, but I got a science degree. I majored in physics, and I not necessarily having a real grand plan for what I was going to do with that. But when I graduated, I moved to DC for what I thought was going to be a science job. So I went to law school, kind of expecting I'd come back to Washington. But nothing ever goes according to plan. I met my now wife while I was in law school, and ended up taking a turn to working at a law firm after graduation while she was finishing up school. And then after a few years there, we were thinking about having a family. And, big law firm. I was in New York, not necessarily the best atmosphere if you want to actually know your children while they're growing up. So a good friend of mine who had been through sort of the same last part of that journey from law school to a big law firm to having a family, had just gotten a position as an academic and was like, you've got to try this. This is this is where it is. And so I managed to when I went on the market for a real law school job, ended up coming here to Case. So it's been not a straight line. This is the longest I've ever been in a single job, the longest I've ever been in a single city. This is the first time I have any confidence in saying what I'm going to be doing 5 years from now is more or less the same as what I'm doing now. I love it here.
Well, as Clevelanders, we appreciate that. What do you love about it?
My wife is from Toronto and had lived always kind of in the big city, Toronto and New York, places like that. And when we first decided to come here, she was like, all right, but as soon as we can move, move to New York or Toronto or someplace, Chicago or someplace, exactly, then we got to go. And when opportunities like that have arisen over the past now 11 years, now she's like, no, absolutely not. Don't even talk to them. We're staying in Cleveland. So she and I are real hometown converts here to Cleveland. It's a real city with all the amenities of a big city, but not the traffic, not the cost. You can live like a human being on an academic, even as a penniless academic. You can live like an adult, which was not the case in New York. We went from being in a 700 square foot apartment with a sheet across the living room for my daughter's nursery to having more space than we need in Cleveland Heights. So we love it here. We've got a 10-year-old son and a 12-year-old daughter.
So you said that your former career was performance art. I guess I want to know if you think that your current career is somewhat performance art.
I try not to say that too much, but it certainly helps, I think, right? I mean, I had class this morning, and you're standing in front of a room full of people for a demanding audience, I'd say, for 90 minutes, 2 hours. And certainly when you're new to it, I mean, you always see these surveys of people's greatest fears, right? And it's always death number 2 and public speaking number 1, right? And I've probably switched those, but it can be really tough. I don't know. It's I remember talking to one of my old law professors before I started teaching, and he just kept saying, "Yep, harder than it looks, harder than it looks."
So let's talk about how you got into your Hollywood career.
Sure. When you have it, they find you. Just no matter where you are.
I want some peace and quiet.
Well, I'll be quiet.
I'll be peace.
No, not really, actually. It was a bit of a slog to get into it. I mean, I was born in Fargo, North Dakota, which was not at the time the entertainment mecca that it is today. And then we moved to Minneapolis, which at the time actually was a sort of an advertising hub. You had sort of regional advertising hubs, and it's not anymore. So I probably would not have been able to do it at all if I were growing up there today. But we went on a family vacation to Los Angeles, and one of our activities was to be in the studio audience for a sitcom. It was the Punky Brewster show, if you remember that. And I was in 3rd or 4th grade at the time. Didn't love school. I don't know. No shade on my old school, but I hated it. And I said to my mother, like, "This looks easy. Like anyone could do this, and it looks a lot more fun than school." So when we got back to Minneapolis, we literally looked in the yellow pages for talent agencies, and went in and interviewed with a couple, and they started sending me on auditions, just kind of expecting to just do commercials and things like that. And I went on dozens of, I credit to my mother that she drove me to all of this. Speaking of hardest job in the world, right, sitting at these stupid auditions, and I didn't get any of them for 20, 25 auditions, and then, got a 3-second thing of me folding a flag or something like that. It was my first commercial. But because Minneapolis was a bit of an advertising city, when they were doing nationwide talent searches for non-Hollywood kids to be in movies, that was one place they went. And the first movie was called Men Don't Leave, which was Jessica Lange and a couple other people. And no one saw the movie, but it was sort of well received, and that opened doors to audition for other things, including Dick Tracy.
Tracy,
When does the certificate become permanent?
I got a badge for you.
It's a name.
Which after that, it was kind of on a glide path after that.
Yeah. So Dick Tracy.
Dick Tracy, Hook.
Oh, he wouldn't. He didn't even try. He was there. We were there, and he wouldn't try.
Yeah. What about Bob?
Great, Bob.
You really were. You were incredible. I mean, Dad choked. You saved him.
The timeless classic. That is, maybe I'm just reacting to how other people view it, but but it's the one I can watch with the least cringing, I'd say. I really like Dick Tracy too, frankly, but it's a weird movie, and I don't know. So at this point, my kids have seen most of, at least I think they've seen all the ones I did as a young kid anyway. And What About Bob's the only one they had any interest in revisiting. They actually have seen that many times now. But yeah, that was the one I least wanted to do, because I had been cast in Terminator 2. Yeah, this breaking story here. But I was supposed to be the kid in Terminator 2. But I had my Minneapolis agent had signed a multi-picture contract with Disney after Dick Tracy, and they pulled me to do What About Bob. So I missed out.
What's it like for your kids to watch movies that they're about that age that you were in these films?
Yeah, I kind of thought it would be weirder for them than it is. I guess, when I was a kid, we didn't have any videos of my parents when they were my age, other than, like silent Super 8 type things. Whereas they have a million videos of themselves and of, everyone, they're used to seeing videos of everyone. So, even the concept of, what something means when it's a live show versus something on film or TV, they don't have any concept of it. So I don't think it was weird to them at all that there's movies Dad made when he was 10 years old.
If one of them came to you right now, like you had done to your mother,
right,
what would you say?
It's been a good icebreaker for me for the past 35 years. So I'm certainly glad I did it, and so I wouldn't be opposed to it. But I think it's even harder to sort of break into it unless you already are in that world. So I wouldn't even really know where to start. I mean, every now and then my daughter's like, I think it would be fun to be an actress, but she hasn't pressed on it. So I'm not gonna press on it either because it's not for everyone. You need to really want to do it, or else it can be a humbling experience. There's a lot more rejection than there is acceptance, and it's always a bit of a long shot. And it was good that I quit when I did, for the most part anyway. I mean, so Hook was the last movie I did as a kid when I was 13, and I'd been working pretty steadily for 3 years, and I still had a lot of offers at that point to keep doing things. But I said, I found myself that I didn't know anyone my own age anymore. I was sort of alienated from school and everything else. So I was like, let's just not do it and go to high school like a regular high school kid. And then I've sort of dabbled in a few things later in life, but I never, sort of went out there and tried to stake my career, restart my career in any real way.
Any artifacts or things you still have, like you're in your office or bookshelf item at home from your movies?
I have the two-way wristwatch from Dick Tracy. The actual watch that he gives me in the movie is hidden somewhere in my house. So you'll never find it. But yes, I have it.
When I was reviewing some of the things for Can't Hardly Wait, I thought your character there, William Lichter,
that's right.
He has, when they're giving you the bio information and it's scrolling, he's in drama club and chess club and science club and dead languages club.
That's right.
You, as an academic, did
exactly. This is reminding me of the actual Can't Hardly Wait press junket now, because they were like, so you were just playing yourself in this movie, and I'm like, well, let's take a step back here. That's right. I mean, I was in school for physics while we were filming the movie, so it was a natural question to ask. I mean, yeah, obviously there's some similarities. I mean, I had the advantage when I was in high school of having been a former child actor that William didn't. So that spared me some of the social ostracism I otherwise undoubtedly would have faced. But yes, a little close to home, a little bit.
And the line we were discussing on the way in.
The beer has gone bad. That's right. Don't taste the beer.
It's terrible. Nobody drink the beer. The beer has gone bad.
Do you like beer?
Do I like beer? Yes. Yes, I do. The beer has rarely gone bad as far as I'm concerned in real life. That is probably the one thing random people will still shout out to me, depending on where I am. If I'm I know it's time to go home. If people have started shouting that out to me, but yes, every now and then I'll be sitting at Barrio, and someone will go, "Don't drink the beer." Thank you.
Good to see you.
Sometimes I'll hear someone just sort of say it loudly and see if I look over. It's like, I'm not
really him.
I'm not sure if that's the guy, but here's my test. Yes.
Would you ever want to go back to acting now?
So, I mean, I've actually been, I don't know if this counts, but a very good friend of mine from grade school, that I've known since I was in second grade, is an independent filmmaker now. Aaron Schimberg is his name, and he made a very low-budget movie a few years ago called Chained for Life. It's kind of like my first movie, Men Don't Leave, that wasn't like a box office sensation, but got very good notices, as they say, and he's now in the post-production on a second movie that's got people you've heard of in it, and he sort of dragged me into having a small part in the first one, and then I was very pleased that he asked me to have a small part in the second one as well. So I've gotten to scratch that itch a little bit, and it's been a lot of fun. So the new movie is called A Different Man. Stars Sebastian Stan. My only scene is with him, so it's just me sort of ranting into his ear at a bar. But unless they cut it out, they haven't finished the movie, so maybe they'll cut me out. We're hoping this spring, but
Cool.
At least for festivals, and then maybe theaters in the fall.
Let's talk about Cleveland, like favorite place.
Barrio Tacos.
That's gonna hit favorite meal then.
That's right, and my kids are very much into rock climbing, and so we are proud members of the Shaker Rocks rock climbing experience. They're on the team, and I'm there all the time, so people should come down to Shaker Rocks. It's competition season now, so almost every weekend we're off to a rock climbing competition with the kids. So that's a big part of my life. I can work kind of whenever I want, so I'm probably at Shaker Rocks 3 times a week. So.
And your favorite meal would be
Barrio Tacos.
Do you order something specific?
The chorizo taco in the stoner shell.
Stoner shell.
Yeah.
That's the way to go.
Always good. That's right.
Do you get a margarita or a beer?
Usually the beer. The holiday beers were a half price because they're trying to get rid of them, and I'm happy to pick up the slack on that.
So you like a Christmas ale?
I like it half price, yeah.
It's a very Cleveland thing.
It is.
You really can't go elsewhere and find a lot of.
The degree of the variety of Christmas ales in Cleveland, I think, beats anywhere else on planet Earth.
What question do you get most from students?
Is this going to be on the exam? Is probably the question I get most from students. Is the exam going to be open book? These are the questions.
I know we're here at Case, so you
Yes.
might feel partial, but best job you've had.
I mean, with all sincerity, this is the best job I've ever had. Being a law professor is a fantastic job, and that not only do I continually get to work with young people, which is constantly refreshing. I also, have the freedom to, work on and delve into topics that I'm interested in, which you don't always have. You're stuck here interviewing me whether you want to or not. I get to write about, whatever I want to write about for the most, within reason, right? For the most part. So it's a great job.
What's your best case for someone to go to law school?
I mean, the world's not going to need fewer lawyers 20 years from now than it needs now. Although I guess, advances in AI aside, who knows? Yeah, exactly. Everyone is terrified of ChatGPT, but, frankly, who knows, obviously, what the future will bring, but it's not going to bring sort of less law and less regulation. And learning to think like a lawyer and be able to read and write and communicate clearly, even if you don't end up being at a law firm or, as an in-house lawyer, it's a real leg up going into business, going into anything where you can just sort of be aware of how the world works in the way that a lawyer gets to be aware of how the world works. So it's a flexible career. And one that's, despite what you may have read, not going away. Come to Case Western. That's right. Join Shaker Rocks. It's the rock climbing, great. And go see A Different Man when it hits theaters near you, starring Sebastian Stan. Other than that, I think I've plugged everything.
It's perfect. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Thanks.